Hello, everyone. Welcome to our summer webinar series where this is Applying for College 101 for juniors. If you hear any loud bangs in the background, we're having a great big thunderstorm right now, so nice and fun. Couple things before we begin. If you have any questions about anything as we go, throw it in the Q&A, throw it in the chat. I'll try and answer them as I go. If I can't answer them as I go, I will answer them at the end, but feel free to ask questions. No questions too weird, no questions too strange. That'll be other people judging you. I'll answer it the best I can. So I'm glad to see a bunch of you here with me. And yeah, let's get going. So who we are, if you're not familiar with Granite Advance, we are a team of experts. We all work together. There's all of us there up on your screen, so you can see us there and everything's good. And we basically, our whole aim, Granite Advance used to be called the NEAF Network. If you're familiar with that, we've been around for a very long time. We are just here to make sure that this journey through the college career, whatever ends up happening, is as easy and nice for you guys as possible. If you need us at all in this journey, we have virtual and in-person appointments. You can either give us a call at that number there, or you can go to our Calendly page or graniteadvance.org and book an appointment. We have a whole bunch of things that we can help you with. If your child right now is a junior, doesn't know what they're doing, we have a career and aptitude exploration. We'll talk about that. We also have exploring educational pathways, which is college prep. Basically, it's a lot of that is just talking you guys through. How do you apply for college? How do you look for college? How do you look for a career? What are the pathways? How do you pay for it? Like, that's kind of a catch-all. And then the rest of those would be more appointments for you guys for seniors. So our financial aid support and Fast for Prep, that's talking you through how do you pay for college, what financing options are available, any questions, and helping you create what is very important is that FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID, which logs you into the FAFSA, which gets you federal aid. All students need to do the FAFSA if they're thinking about college. So juniors, you can sign up for that ID, beginning of your senior year. And then the last one is those reviewing financial aid offer letters. When those come in next spring, if you guys are juniors now, when those come in the spring, we can walk you through it, tell you what it's actually saying, and different good stuff like that. So we got that all out of the way. So the college search. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A or chat. But when we say it's all about you, it's all about you, the student. I'm just going to throw them all up here at once so you guys can kind of see them. I know some people like to write these things down and kind of go with it, but it's all about the student and them figuring out what is the best fit college for you. Parents, you have some ideas, you have some thoughts. I guarantee you're like, I think my kid would like this place. I think this would be a great school for them. All different things like that. So when you start looking at that, do know that it is about them. They're going to have their own choices. You may think it's good for them, and they're like, the vibe just isn't good, anything along those lines. So this is how you kind of put it all together. Parents, you can kind of prompt your kid on this. We got any students on here? These are things you should be thinking about. First step, location. Where do you want to be? You want to be close to home? Do you want to be far away? You want to be far away? You're going to have to include travel costs. That's something to always think about when you're applying to college. The farther away you go, the more it's going to cost to get you and your stuff there. And once your stuff there, sometimes it doesn't come home. You got to rent storage lockers, other things like that. That's just the first step. Close to home, far away. Then you have things like with location. Do you want to be in a rural area to do outdoor activities, or do you want to be in a city, where there's a lot of other things going on there? Do you want to be in a college town where the town revolves around the college? That has some benefits to those. They're all different things, in the suburbs, close to mass transit, anything you can think of. Those are all different ways to think about where you want to be. Size, big, small. Do you want to be in a college that has like 5,000 students, class sizes, 10 to 12, or you want to be in a giant school that's got 70,000 plus kids? You might get big lecture hall classes and other things like that. But size, you got to think about what you want out of that. but size also, there are some differences. Academic programs and opportunities. The bigger the college, there are more academic programs, there are more opportunities. I don't recommend myself, students who are undecided, going to smaller schools unless they're undecided, but kind of have a thought that that school has something for them. They completely have no idea. The smaller the college, typically the less academic programs and opportunities to choose from. Just a choice thing. So those are all different things to think about. What academic programs are there? I see students looking at colleges right now, talking to them. They're like, "Oh, I want to major in this." I'm like, "Well, do you even know if it has your major?" And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. So again, academic programs, student body. What type of students are there? Those are great questions for admissions reps and stuff. Student body, is this a politically active campus? Is this an environmental campus? Is this a student body that stays around on weekends? Is this a sports school? Is this a school that empties out on the weekend? So if your kid wanted to hang out and meet friends and do something at a school, maybe the student body doesn't stay there. It's more of a commuter school. So things to think about. And then academic services, reading, writing, academic labs, accessibility services. Those are all things to kind of keep in your mind. Do you need any of those? Do they have those? And then the activities in campus culture. Campus culture goes a lot back to that student body. But are there activities? Are there things there on campus? Is the culture going to fit what your child likes, is into? Like I mentioned, one of the big things the campus goes, is it environmental? Are there things that, like, if your kid is very much into clean earth and environmental stuff, is that campus culture going to support that? Do they have activities so your kid can blow off steam? Students, you don't want to get overly stressed. You want to be able to blow off steam. You want to have fun there. So do they have, intramural sports? Do they have, are you looking to play a sport in college at the collegiate level? Anything on those lines? And then the last two kind of all come together for all of this, which is outcomes and cost. What is the outcome you want out of this? A great question to ask admissions reps, students, when you meet with people from these colleges who help get you in there. One of the outcomes is, do you have job placement? Do you help us find a job afterwards? What is the outcome once I get my degree? How many students are employed in that field once they get the degree from this college? Some have way higher rates than others. Some have job placement services. A bunch don't. So those are things you're going to want to think about. What's the outcome? Is the outcome you're going to want to get a master's degree? So is there a program at this school that you can do your master's in 5 years instead of 6? Those are all sorts of outcomes. And then just cost. Straight up money. Is it going to be too expensive? What is the value in the investment? Students are making an investment by going to college in themselves to create better opportunities for jobs and other things like that. But does the cost outweigh the investment? And parents, this is where you can really, really help with that. Look, you're going to be taking this job, but it's going to cost you $200,000, $50,000 a year in loans. The cost just isn't there. It is not affordable to go there. And I always look at these things as, students a lot of times, have this thought in mind that this is the school I want to go there. Parents, your job is to kind of help them navigate a lot of times that cost aspect. They don't necessarily know what it means to have a mortgage, a loan, and how much that costs. So that is all stuff that you can kind of talk about. And if it's out of range, it's just, out of range. So when we talk about finding all those things, how do those things come together, to create that best fit college? One of the things to look at is you can do your research. We have a couple good search engines up here: College Board, the College Navigator, Peterson's. All of these are really good search engines. They have great limiters in them. When I say limiters, so you can look from location, so distance from your zip code. You can look for majors and activities, and do they offer need-based aid, or is there money available for you? All sorts of things you can find on those searches. Some schools And it depends on the school. Have things like Naviance, Score. There's other programs out. Those are the two big ones, which are school-based programs that will know a lot about your kids, and your school counselors can help them navigate it. Students, you should definitely meet with your school counselor and kind of make sure, and you probably already are. I haven't heard of many schools here in New Hampshire that don't do a great job with this, but your school counselor, will tell you, are you on track to graduate? Are you on track with college admission requirements? Some schools have different requirements than others. What schools are you looking for? Your counselor can help you meet, set those realistic goals, your background, academic, history. They might know some colleges that you've never considered. Same thing with those searches, or if you go to a college fair or something like that, check out schools you haven't heard of. A lot of those schools have good money. There's good things available for you. You just haven't heard of it because they're not a big name school. That doesn't mean they don't have everything you want. So you can meet with your counselor. You can also meet with us at Granite Advance, meet with one of our specialists. We can kind of go through that process and kind of help you out a little bit. Either way, do your research. Don't just go into these schools blind. If you've never been on a college tour, or anything like that, and you're like, I don't, part of research, I don't even know where to start, go check out one of our New Hampshire schools. Always have in your back pocket an in-state school. Go see Keene, go see Plymouth, go see UNH, Southern New Hampshire, wherever you are, Colby Sawyer, Franklin Pierce. I know I'm missing some out there. Those are ones off the top of my head. If you're nearby, go visit. Go see a college campus, see what it's like. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So as you get to know the college, this is what I was just talking about, visiting campuses, attending college fairs, and those admission reps. You got to search for them. There's a lot of spring college fairs that have passed, but some will happen in the fall. So you just got to find them. And if you can figure out the list of schools going there, you can know, and then you can pinpoint, hey, I should visit this school, visit that school. Either way, when you attend a college fair, it can be a little overwhelming. There sometimes can be, 50, 60, 75, 100 schools at these college fairs, and there could be 1,000 people there all crowded in trying to talk. So the best thing you can do when you attend a college fair is, if you get a chance to talk to one of the admission reps, the people at the college fair are the same people who will read your college essays, who will look through your transcripts and all that fun stuff. So go talk to them, collect their contact information, make sure that you leave your contact information. Parents, don't leave your contact information. You should leave your kids, as I know that some parents will go there with their child and they kind of divide and conquer. You go visit these schools, I'll visit these schools. Parents, leave your child's contact information, because it's showing interest in the school. It's showing a point of contact. And the more points of contact you have with the school, remember, college is really competitive to get into. So you got to market yourself correctly. So if you have a college you really want to go to, make sure students, they have your name, your phone number, and your email. Now with that, your email. Students, don't use the one you made when you were 5. You need to make a nice, if you don't have one, a nice one, first name dot last name at Gmail, at Yahoo, I'm going to show my age, at Hotmail. There we go, Hotmail people. Have a nice email address that's not like Puppy Dogs and Unicorns 6 from when you were little. Like, update it a little bit. Just have that more adult thing. It markets yourself a little bit better. Keep the other one for other stuff. And it's also sometimes good to just have that like dedicated college email account. So all the stuff going to it is college. Either way, attend those college fairs, talk to them, take notes, make sure they have your contact information. If you get admission reps to come to your high school, students, you need to go see them. They'll go to your high school and they will sit there and no one will come to talk to them, and then they'll just leave. And if you have any intention of applying to or going to those schools, go talk to the admission rep. I'll give you a couple quick questions here to ask. Why should I go to your school? Is the food any good? Do you have my major? There you go. Very simple. It's a point of contact. Again, see what it says. Leave your contact information. If you left it at the college fair, you've now left it with the admissions rep. That's 2 points of contact. and then you go ahead and you visit campus. Before we get to visiting campus, just to know with the admissions reps at the high school, it's a great time for one-on-one or small talks with these reps. If you can talk to them, they get to know you a little bit. And I'm telling you that when we talked from Granite Advance, we talked to reps. One of the things that the reps love doing is fighting for students who are on that edge. When we talk about, getting into a school, if you're a little bit low to who they normally accept, if you've attended the college fair, you've talked to the admissions rep, you've visited their campus, you've gained a little rapport, you've marketed yourself well, those admission reps really want to fight for you to get into that school. They'll be like, oh, I remember them. I talked to them at so-and-so's high school, and they were a really great kid, and they asked really thoughtful questions. They are willing to fight for you, and they love doing that because then they know they've done their job right of making those connections. That's what admission reps do. And same thing when you visit campus, guys, there will be info sessions, tours, open houses, whatever it is. While you're there, make sure that they have your contact information. Don't just show up to a college and go, I toured the college. Contact admissions, get them to take your contact information. Again, points of contact. So whatever you're there, make sure that they know you're there. Get a great tour. They're going to show you a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be really cool. Ask questions if you need to. Take good notes. Things that kind of point out, dress appropriately. They do notice stuff like that. Students have always asked me, what does it mean to dress appropriately? Well, if you have to ask whether you are dressed appropriately or not, you're probably not dressed appropriately. Not saying that you got to dress up shirt and tie. That's not necessary, but things that may be considered inappropriate to someone else, maybe not you. That's kind of what I'm saying. Dress how you would want people to see you. So while you're there, visit that campus, see those things. And a great big hint, if you have the time, I always like to say, go do a campus visit and attend an athletic event if your kid's into sports, a play if they're into theater, concert if they're into music. Try and see if you can get another event that gets you a great idea of campus culture. That is not always going to happen. There might not be something that lines up with your visit. So one of the best things I can kind of tell you is when you visit campus, one of the places that you really should visit is the dining hall for two reasons. One, a lot of colleges, if you do a tour, will give you a free dining hall pass to go eat in the dining hall, try the food. Second thing is in the dining hall, you're going to see students. Listen in on their conversations. Is every conversation angry and upset? And that can show you about a vibe on what's going on campus. Or is everyone happy? Are the conversations normal? Great. It seems like everyone's doing well there. So go eat a little food. If they don't offer you a dining hall pass during your tour, ask for it at the end of the tour. If not, well worth it. Especially, and this is a great question for reps and other things, if your child has dietary restrictions, whether they're lactose intolerant, they can't do gluten, any of those type of things, or they have self-imposed ones, like they're vegans, they're vegetarians. They're going to want to try out that food. Some schools do a lot better job than others with their cooking. If your kid is the chicken finger king or queen and that they would eat that for every meal of the day if they could, they need to go try the chicken fingers. Because if they're going to be there for 2-4 years eating out of that dining hall, they should definitely give it a shot. The dining hall is not open or you don't have time for that. Hit the student center. There's usually like a coffee shop or a place you can get some food there. Spend 15-20 minutes. Parents talking to your child. Students talk to your parents. How do you feel about the place? What are pros about coming here? What are cons? Get those down like really simple, like when you're there, so you have a list, have a notebook or something you put that into. And it's just a great way to debrief and kind of figure out, I like this place, I don't like this place. Get a little food hopefully out of it, but it's just a point to deep breath, figure it out. All right. As you attend schools, as you do the college fairs and you start getting ready, all right, where am I actually going to apply? You got to build that list. Students are going to take schools off the list for whatever reason. Parents, you have to accept it. You can keep pushing, but I've had plenty of times talking with students and parents where the student just is not sold and parents where you want to send them. Got to come up with convincing arguments otherwise. But either way, build that list. Each school should have about 2 to 3 specific reasons they made the list. Students, make sure you know those specific reasons. Parents, get those out of your kids, because if they don't have 2 to 3 specific reasons, it could be as simple as they have my major and they have a good basketball team and I love basketball. Done. 2 specific reasons. They don't have to be all that deep or anything. But why is the school on your list? Why do you want to go there? Why do you think you want to go there? Have a balanced approach when you go ahead and apply. Higher probability, lower probability, in-state, out-of-state, public, private. You should apply at any school you think that you might want to go to. Don't get scared off by it's a private school that's out of state. A lot of private schools have a lot of money that they're willing to give in aid. And we have found that there are a lot of private out-of-state schools that will match or beat our in-state prices. Just being honest with that. Now, you definitely need an in-state school. And I'm not talking a private in-state. I'm talking in-state public school. Even if your child has no intentions of going to UNH, Keene, or Plymouth, they need to put an in-state school down on their list, because what you're going to see is they can start applying back probably as early as October-ish. Life can change between October and May when you have an acceptance deadline. And all of a sudden life changes and they need to be closer to home, or they want to be closer to home. Have that in-state school in your back pocket, even if the intention is to go out of state. So have a good mix on there. People always ask, how many schools should I apply to? Depends on the student. Depends on what they're looking at. And when we talk higher probability schools, those are the schools that you have the SAT scores to get into, the GPA, you have the community service they want, high probability of getting in there. There should be at least one school that's like a gimme on that list that your child wants to go to. High probability of getting in there. You then have in the middle those target schools. These are schools that you have the SATs, you're right on target for what they want. Everything's on target. You know, it probably means you're going to get in there. And then you got your lower schools, those, you know, also called reach schools. Schools that you might be a little low on something they're looking for. But remember, when they accept you, it's always an average. So you have people below what their average is. Their average student getting in has a 3.8 GPA. You're at a 3.6. Well, you know what? They have kids at 4.0 and they have kids below that. So right on target with that. But also lower probability schools means that you aren't necessarily close to the SAT score. You're not close to the GPA. You want to give it a shot, see if you're going to make it. You have a low probability of getting in there. And there's also schools that are automatically low probability schools. These are schools that pretty much accept less, 25% of their applicants. All that means is it's a highly competitive school that they have a lot of students applying and not a lot of room in that freshman class. So it's just the percentage accepted. Like you'll see like Dartmouth is less than 10%, but Dartmouth is a great school. They have a lot of people who want to go there, and a lot of great kids don't get into that school. So just when you're doing your list, lower probability schools are just that it's a lower probability of you getting in there. Or financially, it's lower probability. They have a sticker price that is $70,000, $80,000 to go there. And you're like, we can't afford this. Still apply, because if they offer enough aid, you still might be able to go there. It's just lower probability. All right, we got something come up here in the questions. Do schools disclose what they want their SAT scores to be? Yes, typically. Yep. Typically, if they want SAT scores, and I'll talk about that in the next slide or two, they will give you an idea. Now, I always say just because their SAT score is 1,300 is the average to get in there, and you have an 1170, apply if you really want to go there, because it just may go down on that list as a lower probability score because you don't have it, but you might have everything else they want. And sometimes, depending on the school, the SAT scores may seem a little inflated. And so again, it's an average. definitely go ahead. You can usually find those on their admission websites or a lot of those college searches. You can put a limiter in for this was my SAT score, like Big Futures or Peterson's, and they'll give you scores in that. Really good question there about SAT scores. And while we kind of talk about SAT scores, and I'll go over the aid here in a second, while it's there, there are schools that don't look at those anymore, but do know that scholarships do kick in with a lot, and they're going to need SATs. But we'll talk about that in a second. Other things to think about is the type of financial aid offered. If you see that they only offer merit aid, means that you're only going to get good grade scholarships. Merit aid is for good grades, community service, leadership, things like that. Those are those academic scholarships. Most of those are automatic. Your child applies, they have a GPA of this, they automatically get that merit aid. Some schools, especially like some of the top higher tier schools, don't offer merit aid. They're like, everyone in our school would qualify for it. We only offer need-based aid. And what need-based aid means is the more you need money to help your child go to college, they can offer up more aid. Now, that can vary from school to school. That's like when you get a financial aid offer, you'll be like, well, this school gave me a $30,000 scholarship and this school gave me 10. Well, that's typically because the one that has 10 only has 10 to give, and the one that has 30 has 30 to give. It has nothing to do with you personally or them wanting you more. It's typically they have a formula, very formulaic, that a lot of schools offer both need and merit-based aid. And so if you want that good grade one and you have a little need there, it's just kind of how you can do your searches. If you know you're going to need a lot of financing to help for college, then maybe you only look at some need-based schools. It's just kind of how you've got to figure out your list. You got to figure out what works for you and your family the best. All right. So building that list, put down 6, 8 schools you apply to. Another good question over here. Do they look at SAT score result on the senior year? If they took it their junior year, and most juniors should have already taken it by now in their high school, they will look, and their junior score is, if it's good enough for what they want, cool. They'll just look at the junior year results. Most schools will allow you to, if you take it again, mix and match. You get like a high math, high English, reading, writing score. You can put those together. Like that's what I did. I retook it on the fall of my senior year. I scored higher on my math the second time through, so I combined, and I actually did lower on the English portion. I submitted they combined them for a high English, high math on 2 separate tests. Yeah, really good question. Yeah, so they will look at senior year ones, but whatever ones are the best is what they're typically looking for, because they know that the questions change, and you could have a good day here, bad day here. They're looking for what your top was. Nice question there as well. All right. So kind of get this list down here. I can't tell you how many apply to. Some kids will apply to 3 schools and they know those 3 schools and they have that, higher probability school, and that just happens to be a school they want to go to. Perfect. Some kids are not going to know. They'll have 6 to 8 on their list. That's okay too. Highly competitive majors like nursing, any of the physical therapies, something like that. Some engineering programs, architecture, highly, sought after programs. You might want to spread your list a little bit bigger just in case you don't get in. So those are all, the list. And then when you're ready, let's apply. And deadlines are going to vary widely from schools. The big thing I can tell students on this, with your deadlines and everything like that, your deadlines are going to be different from school to school. There's going to be a different application deadline to a financial aid deadline, which you can typically do after you apply. But the big thing with deadlines is deadlines are deadlines. High school, you might have a little leeway. You have a teacher who accepts work late. They take some points off, or they just accept it late. Oh, the field trip form was supposed to be in yesterday, but I'm turning it in 3 days from now, and I can still go on the field trip. In college, no. Deadlines are deadlines unless the college moves the deadline. If you do not apply by, like this is saying, March 15th, you do not get into that school that year because you applied past the deadline. So the majority you'll see will be December 1st through about March 15th will be those application deadlines. Some will be a little earlier. We'll talk about those in a second. But either way, the biggest thing I can tell you is keep track of those. Spreadsheet, online calendar, folder, apps, whatever you need to do. Make sure you know your deadlines. You don't want to miss a deadline. This does happen, especially in New Hampshire. We get snow, knocks out power, knocks out internet, knocks out self-service. You can't get a signal. You miss that deadline. They're not going to care that there was a snowstorm. They're like, we have 10,000 other students who made it before your problem. Deadlines are deadlines. So when we look at the deadlines, we'll start at the bottom, kind of move our way up with this. So what you get here is early decision. Early decision is for students who are like, I know this is the school I want to go to. My life is over if I don't get into the school. And it's not. A lot of kids don't make it on early decision. But early decision is you can apply one school early decision. If you apply to other schools, you cannot apply to those other schools early decision. You apply to one. If you get accepted early decision, it is a contract. You, the parent, will have a contract, your student will have a contract, and the school counselor will have a contract. And the contract basically says you've been admitted there to this school early decision, because you can apply early decision as early as October. And now you know, and you are in. It is a binding agreement that is really hard to get out of. So the biggest thing I can tell you with that is ED is not, and you should also know for an ED school that you can financially afford to go there. You may not have that financial picture of how much aid they're going to give you. So you have to kind of know that I can financially afford to go here if I'm paying all of this money. So early decision, also thing with early decision and early action is the same kind of way. If your student's junior year, like this third, fourth quarter, it wasn't that good, or their SAT scores, it wasn't that good their junior year, and they want to take it again in the fall, then you should probably just go with regular admission. Early action just means that you have your act together. You have your essay done, you have your grades are great, everything's looking good. You look good basically as a high school junior that the college wants you. Because you will see October through December, it is non-binding. I recommend early action before early decision. Like I said, early decision, very binding. Early action, you get to know. But again, that is for the student who has their act together. They got everything good to go. So early action, like I said, just like early decision, but it's not binding. Most people, if you need to get your first or second quarter grades up, and that actually happens a lot sometimes, early action, you get the response of, you didn't get in yet. We want to see your first quarter grades. We want to see your second quarter grades, submit them, and then we can talk to you about, and they usually push you off then to regular admission and say, we'll review them and you'll be in the regular admission pool. You didn't get in early action, but we just want some more stuff from you. So regular admission, anytime between November and January, it's not really even a deadline. They'll open up. And then you'll be able to go non-binding and see what they say. You'll usually find out because it says all applications are reviewed prior to decisions being met. So you'll probably find out with everyone else February, March. They usually have that done. And then rolling admission, all of New Hampshire's community colleges are rolling admission. It just means first come, first serve. They don't really have deadlines as far as you can apply, even like 2 weeks before the start time sometimes. And if they have a slot for you, they'll fill it. So rolling admission is just first come, first serve. If you see any school that's rolling admission, you are going to want to apply to it sooner than later because they fill up. Even a lot of times, like I said, there are schools like community colleges that may accept you really close to their, when they start the school. What happens a lot of times with rolling admission is you've been accepted into the school, but you didn't get in the program you wanted because the program was full. You applied to, NHTI, which has a nursing program here, one of our community colleges in Concord, and you got into NHTI. That was great. They're rolling admission, but nursing's full, been full. So you just missed out on that. So just kind of apply earlier than later if you can. Do you think early decision, this in the chat, do you think early decision is not the best option? It depends on the student. If the student, I caution people to do it because it's binding. But if you know that your kid has all the stuff, their act is together, their grades are great, their SATs are great, their essays wonderful, and they know that this is the one school they want to get into, and you've kind of worked the numbers, talk to the financial aid office, maybe done what is called a net price calculator. And a lot of schools have those where you go on, you put in some of your finances, and it tells you about how much you would actually pay with aid coming your way. And if everything looks good, go for it. The worst thing that happens with early decision is that you don't get in. That's how I kind of look at it. Early decision is just not always the best option, except for those kids who have everything together, because I would hate to have a kid apply early decision, then realize, oh no, I wanted to go to another school, or oh no, I can't afford this, but they're making me go there anyways. That's it. It's a contract. It is binding. You were saying you were going. So early decision is just for that kid who knows what they want to do. The rest are also good options. So good question on that. It all depends on the student and is their act together. If they need a little bit more time, regular admission is perfectly fine. You get into those schools. Early decision, again, just you want to know sooner and you have everything all set with that. Good question. So figure it out and apply as early as you can. Now, how are you going to apply? Most schools now, except by over 1,000 schools, use what is called the Common App. Common App is wonderful. Parents, you probably don't remember the Common App, because when we went to school, we went ahead, students, you're going to love this one. We would have to print everything out or get it sent from the college, type it out, write it in hand, and send in applications via the mail all the time. Common App is a one-stop shop. CommonApp.org. You go in, opens up August 1st. Students, you can go in, you create a profile with this, and the profile is, it's going to start with easy stuff. Name, where do you live? What high school are you at? And, what activities do you do? And the Common App puts it all in one spot. Any school that is on the Common App, you click on those schools. It's very easy, very intuitive. You go there, you click on those schools, you choose what you want to send them. At times, like you can write multiple essays, upload them onto the Common App, have an essay for this school, an essay for that school. It's really kind of cool what it does. It just puts everything in one spot for you. And then you're just literally just clicking stuff to make sure that it got sent to the schools that you wanted to. Makes the whole process, you don't have to write anything out. You're not mailing anything. There are definitely fee waivers that are available if there's a fee for going to these schools. A lot of times schools will give you fee waivers if you go to an open house, if you go to a tour. If you're at any schools you're touring right now, if you go this summer or something, ask them if they have a fee waiver for the Common App. If they have a fee involved, they'll give them out if they can. Some schools do, some schools don't. So don't pay a fee if you don't have to. But the Common App is a really good place. I always look at the profile on the Common App is something you started in August. Students start it, parents, you look at it, then maybe they have a teacher look at it, someone else look at it. Just make sure everything's in there, and it helps present the students in the best light that it can. Again, it's all about marketing yourself. You also have the Coalition app. I have not seen many of these. Basically, if we want to look at it, in broad terms, Common App won, Coalition app didn't. It's just an alternative. Say if your school says you need to apply via the Coalition app, you do it. I haven't seen many schools for that. Just a different application process. And then you also will have your college-specific applications. So a school that's not on the Coalition, not on the Common App, will go college-specific. And what I find is this, by filling out your Common App really well, those college-specific applications, you just cut and paste. Go to your Common App, have it in the window, cut and paste. It's just some colleges haven't bought into, the Common App or the Coalition app, so they just use a college-specific. Our community college system you just go right to their websites and apply there. They're not even on the Common App. They're like, we don't need as much information as is there. So those are your application options. Most students will apply if they're going to a 4-year college at the Common App. A lot of the school counselors will help with that as well. So, yeah, that's where you will apply. What are they going to require from you on these applications? One's going to be a high school transcript. Those will come from the school counselors. They'll tell you all about how to get those sent and everything. There's going to be an essay. Oh, hear that beeping, severe thunderstorm warning. We'll turn that off. Love New Hampshire, always was fun. College essay, they're going to require an essay. Most schools do. The essay is between 450 and 650 words about something that the college would not know about you from your extracurriculars, your letters of rec, or your high school transcript. There are prompts on the Common App. They have not changed in many years. So you can go on the Common App and just Google Common App essay prompts. You can see what they are. You can start figuring those out. College essay is an essay that should not be written in one thing and then never looked at again. We offer essay prep. We'll talk about that at the end, but college essay is something that you find the prompt that you want, you write it once, you have someone look at it, you edit it, have someone else look at it, edit it, have someone else look at it, and hopefully you're done. If you need more editing, go from there. But again, it's all about presenting the best you that there is. So you're going to want to write, it's a writing sample. They want to know things about you. Can you think critically? Also do know that on the Common App, you'll be able to upload that college essay there, and you won't have to, like I said, you can do multiple college essays, streamline it to schools, or just upload one on there. So that's something you can do. They're going to want to know about extracurricular activities. Extracurriculars are anything that you do in school and out of school. Colleges are looking for quality, not quantity. They don't want to see seniors who join 10 clubs in their senior year. They'd rather see that a child has been in a club for 3-4 years, and they're now the president. They're now a coordinator. They're the secretary. They're on the events committee. That's what they're looking for. They're trying to show with the extracurriculars that you're showing leadership, you're showing responsibility, all those type of things. Other extracurriculars that you can put down that people forget about, jobs. If you work, that is an extracurricular. You do it after the school. It shows responsibility, especially students who have jobs, and it's crazy to me that we have students who have jobs where like they close up at night alone with someone else's money. It's crazy to me, but that shows responsibility. Babysitting, that's one that people forget about. Babysitting is an extracurricular. Or just I watch my brother and sister every day after school because parents are working. I watch them every Saturday night because parents are working. Those are things that will be there for extracurriculars. Or if they watched or go and sit with like an elderly, uncle, grandparent every weekend, once a month, because that is their job to do. Those are all things that can go down on extracurriculars. All right, question in here. Will there be more specific essays from other colleges in addition to the Common App one? Very good question. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, some colleges, even within the Common App, are going to ask for some very specific kind of on-the-fly essays. If they're looking for something more specific, they know that they are kind of on the fly. They know that that is supposed to be, they're trying to just, some colleges will have, they'll be like supplemental essays. So they want 200 words on this, 200 words on that. Definitely they know that they're not something that you're going to practice a lot, like the college essay. So absolutely there will be some more, there might be, not all colleges do it, but a lot of times they do ask some other questions and they're just looking for kind of what is your answer right away. It's not going to be kind of more abstract like sometimes those college essays on the Common App are. And the Common App does have an essay that is literally write about whatever you want, kind of. So good question on that. So there's your extracurriculars. Letters of recommendation, they're going to want 2. Usually is the minimum. 1 will come from your school counselor. They will be able to write up a report on that. I've had this question asked, what if my school counselor doesn't know my student? The one that comes from the school counselor, even if it's a brand new counselor for their senior year, they don't know much about your kid, They have a very kind of formulaic approach. The one from the school counselor is going to talk about the school a lot, kind of what the grades are like, what the classes are like a little bit, and tailor it to what they know about your kid. They will meet with your student before they write those letters of recommendation like that. And another one should come from an academic teacher. And what I mean by that is you're looking at probably a teacher from your junior, senior year who's part of math, science, English, or social studies. Because those are, you are going to college typically for academics, they're going to look for an academic teacher. Like if you're going to school for engineering, but you are like, I love my art teacher. My art teacher could write a great letter of recommendation. You're going for engineering. They want to know from your math teacher, how's your math? Can you do that? Your art teacher is a great person, but doesn't necessarily write all the time to your academic success that they're looking for. Now, if you are going to art school, one from your art teacher is going to be great. And there's also like a lot of schools have room for a third letter of recommendation. And that's where kind of a non-academic teacher, a boss, parents, you can't write letters of recommendation, no family members, but someone else can write it. Not all colleges have a slot to put it, but that's kind of where that letter of recommendation, another teacher, someone else, that third one, if there's an optional spot, can come in. But they're typically looking for those core academic teachers. But if you're going into a field that is outside of this or the core, then that's where those letters can help you get in. And last but not least, your SAT, ACT scores. We do SAT up here in the Northeast. Don't worry about ACT. Some schools, they accept both. We just got to put it down if you have taken an ACT. They will require those school scores from you, even if they don't initially want them as part of the application. Let me show you guys this. So with standardized testing, there are a lot of schools, and this happened a lot because of the pandemic. There just weren't SAT scores or ACT scores from kids because they couldn't get to a testing center or their schools weren't doing it. So a lot of schools went test blind, meaning that they just don't even consider those tests. Like they won't look at your test scores. They don't really care about them. They're going to look at other measures, your essay, your transcript, your letters of rec to get you in. So test blind they don't look at it at all. However, a lot of test blind schools may not look at the score, but it is still a academic requirement that you took it. I've seen a couple students who have skipped their SATs, applied only at test blind schools because they're like, oh, they're not going to want it. And then they get accepted. And as part of the acceptance process, they go, okay, you didn't submit SAT scores. We want that. We just want to know that you have them. And you might be like, that is crazy. They didn't ask for them, but now they want them. And the answer is yes. Students should take the SATs. They're going to want to get as high on the SATs as they can. Because the other thing is this, there might be a school they want to get to that does require it, or they're looking at a scholarship. A lot of scholarships kick in on SAT scores. Those are, so they're going to want to get as high as possible. If they're a junior this year, they should have taken it in the spring. They should have their scores back. And if they don't like where they are, take the summer, do a prep course like Khan Academy, get one of those test prep books. There's tons of them out there. Khan Academy's free. Don't pay money if you don't have to, but if you want to, go ahead. Get the scores up as high as you can. Take the September, October one, and then apply regular admission. You might get them back in time for an early action date, but that's kind of what it is. Just get those scores as high as you up, even if you're going for test blind. Test optional just means that you get to decide whether you want to submit it. So I always look at it like this. If you have an 1100 and they're test optional and test optional school, and you have 1100 and their average to get in there is 1350, that's not going to help you. Don't submit it. You have a 1350, submit that score because it will help you get in. All right, we got another question down here. So transcripts, letters, scores. Those get input in the Common App. The teachers, schools, yeah, all right, very good question. So the counselor will know how to upload those to the Common App. Some will ask the student to input grades directly. Teachers will not put those grades in directly. It will either come from the school counselor who will upload those transcripts, or do they, if the school asks, they sometimes ask for students to upload their current, their current grades, what they're actually at. And what they do is they match them to what gets uploaded from the transcript is typically what they do. And if your kid's saying that they get an A and the transcript says they get a C, there's a mismatch, and they're not going to like that your kid lied on that. So it's just lied, made a mistake, whatever. I'm assuming that they're upping it for to make themselves look better. Either way, most schools don't ask them to do it. It will just be uploaded through the transcripts. So good question. But some will ask, like, what are you currently getting in this class? What do you anticipate your grade to be? Good question. Yeah. So, so again, like it says, is test optional. So if you see a requirement for a merit scholarship is to upload a score, you're going to have to do it. If you meet it, there's a whole big list of test optional, test blind schools, fairtest.org. And that also, it's fairtest.org is a great website to kind of look at if your child is just one of those students who, no matter how hard they try, I was a teacher for a number of years before I started doing this, and I had students, really bright kids, who just bomb tests left and right. They got too anxious, they're not doing it. And that fair test would, you still try and get up as high as you can, but if they tried and it's still not there, then they can apply to a lot of test blind schools because they're going to look at other measures. They're going to look at their transcript grades and say, all right, this kid can do it. So it's just a matter of strategy and how you're figuring out how that's going to be done. Other kind of things to consider here real quick as we end, if you're going in any type of performing arts, so we're talking singing, instrumental, anything, acting, anything that would require that, those are your majors, they may require an audition. So if they have an audition for you, you should figure out when the auditions are. I've seen tons of auditions that start opening up, and this is even for regular admission students, December, January. And you need to find out how they want it. They want it in person. Some will want you to go to that school to audition. Some will want you to send in a video, so record yourself doing it. Some will want it to be a live over Zoom, Teams, or whatever, Google Meets, whatever they use, their portal area thing, whatever they use. Find out what it is, figure out how it's done. Same thing with portfolios. Those are your studio arts, photography, painting, any art like that. They're going to want a portfolio, architecture, things like that. So do they want that now? How are they submitted? Or do they want originals? Do they want copies? Do they want digital? Do they want you to send something up in a box? All of those type of things, for portfolios. And then if your child is at all wanting to play Division I or Division II sport, they must register with the Eligibility Center, NCAA Eligibility Center. They're going to want the transcripts and other things, but by filling out for the Eligibility Center, that allows college coaches to start recruiting your child. If your child is seeing other students being recruited and they're not talking to them, they don't know why, it's because they're not signed up for the Eligibility Center. By NCAA rules, they literally cannot, coaches can't talk to you. And if you don't sign up for the Eligibility Center, they also can't offer you a scholarship. So if you're in that kind of realm, that's just something to think about. Part of this process is, like it says up here, students should be taking the lead. Parents, we know that you want to help your kid out, but your kid should be the one to fill out their own college apps, fill out that paperwork. If you have a question, parent, for admissions rep, have your child call or email. You can sit there with them, but it looks better than so-and-so's parent called again. So-and-so's parent emailed us. They want to talk to the student. You want your student to show admissions that they're ready to, like I said, take charge of their education. So they should be emailing them. They should be filling them out. Even if you have questions, have them do it. Sit there on the phone, put it on speaker, whatever you need to do. If your kid is still not organized, their room's a wreck, their bag is something that needs to be burnt because you won't find anything else in there. It's down at the bottom. they got basically a year or two to get organized because you're not going to be there to pull everything out of a bag for them, find it underneath their bed. The biggest thing we can say is check email regularly. Colleges email, email, email. They're getting a little better at texting, but a lot of the texting is, we sent you an email, go check it. And then students, be in communication with everyone, be very upfront with what you want. And then one of the last things is, if you haven't learned life skills, cooking, cleaning, laundry, the things that you got to do on your own, students, ask your parents how to do that, because you need to know before you move off to college. Those are just general things that they all should be doing and taking the lead with. So as we kind of wind down, everyone, we are here for you this summer, and those dates are just getting put up now. If you go to graniteadvance.org, go to find your directions tab, you can see, and we'll let you guys know when those are open. But we have college essay workshops for those rising seniors. We won't write the essay there, but we have tips on how to write it, brainstorming activities. We're going to have in-person and virtual options. So we're not only going to be at Concord. I know I'm going to be up at Plymouth State sometime in July. We're just honing down that date, and we will get admissions reps from these colleges to come help us with these essay workshops. That's one of the best things that you can do as a student, is get those essays all done before your school year kicks in. We also have more college planning and transition webinars for juniors and seniors. We got a lot of stuff going on this summer, so we are here for you at Granite Advance to make sure that this becomes easy. So please check out our programming page. We have a lot of different things there. This is what I was talking about earlier. If your child completely has no idea what they want to do, or wants to kind of affirm that this is what they should be doing, we have our U-Science. We partner with U-Science to explore and identify what your kid is, their aptitudes, what they're naturally gifted in, what are they really good at, and then they do an inventory, and it's really, really cool. It spits out a lot of career fits on things that they're interested in and have a natural ability to be good at. It's just a really cool program. So that's our U-Science. If your kid has no idea, this just helps focus them. I do a lot of U-Science appointments with students, and it's really fascinating. You just learn a lot about yourself. So if they don't know what they want to do, you can book an appointment, QR code here, there, or just go to our website and do that. Thank you all for attending. If you want to do the little QR code here, if you got your phone out and give me some feedback, that would be fine. If not, those are our contact informations. You can book an appointment with us at our Calendly page, find your direction at graniteadvance.org. If you want to email us, we will get right back to you. We're constantly checking our email box or our phone. We can always answer any questions as we go. We're here for you guys. We want to make sure that everything's okay. So thank you all for joining me. If I don't see any questions here in a second, we'll say goodnight. And yeah, we're here for you. Have a great night. Stay safe. And hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Have a great night.